the Beast of Bray Road. This is a very popular folklore story that hit the small rural community of Elkhorn, Wisconsin, during the 1980s into the 90s, when people began reporting sightings of a large wolf-like creature roaming the nearby lands. It is described most commonly as being a 5 to 7 foot tall wolf that can stand on its hind legs. Brownish red fur accompanied it with 2 red glowing eyes, gigantic ravenous claws, and is known to give off a foul smell or be surrounded by fog. Its face, though, is made up of canine features. When cryptozoologists attempted to categorize this creature, they placed it into the Bigfoot category to avoid the whimsical nature of the werewolves. But what I'm saying is when you imagine this thing, you'll basically be thinking about the werewolves in Van Helsing. But others are not entirely convinced that this is a creature, but something much more darker, a supernatural spirit. Well, due to the growing nature of increasing reports about the beast, a local newspaper assigned one of their journalists to look into the matter. Her name is Linda Godfrey, and she is the hero of this story. Because if it wasn't for the overwhelming evidence and the bizarre nature of this tale, she wouldn't have written the book, The Beast of Bray Road, which bolstered this story into national headlines and is commonly talked about today. The stupid amounts of Dogman stories shared throughout North America. When Linda began her adventure, she was very sus towards the idea of a large beast stalking the inhabitants of Elkhorn. But as she kept interviewing people, she learned their fear was real and there was validity to their claims, thus converting Linda Godfrey into a believer. Today we will focus on the Beast of Bray Road, before looking into some other regional variants. When Linda arrived at Elkhorn to begin her work, one of the first people she talked to was John Fredrickson, Walworth County Humane Officer. In his office, he retrieved a file with the word werewolf written on it, because he didn't know what to classify this cryptid as yet. But essentially, he was collecting a lot of the local reports about seeing this beast for some time now. This is when it's probably best to mention that Walworth and the neighboring counties began experiencing more and more satanic worshipping going on in their backwoods. For his county, there was just evidence that local teens were conducting these practices, while in his words, Fredrickson claims a higher-ranked officer came to him one day to tell him that the other satanic worshippers were of higher-class people, actually performing dark sadistic rituals. In essence, the teenagers were just playing around while these elite adult cultists are actually doing very bad things. Now, with me, I could easily explain this away. During the late 80s into the 90s, there was a large population scare known as the Satanic Panic. So this would chalk up to a fad. But then there's something stranger. There are many local Native American tribes in the surrounding area, but none of them have an exact link to this cryptid. Some tribes have gone as far as to acknowledge the creature and claim that it is an ancient thing from a spirit world. So wait, they have no stories about it, but they are aware of its presence. Something so dark and evil, some may not want to write about it? And then we get to our first reported sighting, and the nature this came to be. As Linda is collecting reports, she meets a man named Joe Shackleman, who claims his father Mark saw the cryptid in 1936. Mark was working as an overnight watchman for a Catholic convent a few towns over, when one night he was walking the grounds where they had preserved Native American burial mounds, when he caught sight of the beast trying to dig from the top of the mound, searching for something. Once the creature took notice of Mark, it fled. The next day, Mark returned to the mound to find claw marks in the earth. That night, he returned to find the creature again near the mound. This time it stood up and it spoke, Gadara, making eye contact and even making note of an awful smell of rotting meat. Then the creature just walked away. So the story only gets a little weird from here, because Linda allegedly uncovered a story about the convert, the one Mark was looking after. The story was allegedly a priest performed a difficult exorcism on a child. The priest was successful in the exorcising, but the dark entity had attached itself to the priest. Linda then goes back to Mark's story about the part when the beast says Gadara, and ties it to a story in the New Testament. A story about an accursed man, according to which version you read, sometimes there's two, who's living among the tombs, dealing with his affliction of being possessed by many spirits, known as Legion. Yeshua then performs an exorcism and saves the man. I know, I might have lost some of you here, and I might have gained a few of you as well. Whether you're religious or not, it's a crazy line to follow, and yet it still makes its point, that maybe the origins of the beast lie with it, perhaps being a demonic entity unleashed onto our world. But sadly, a lot of the satanic stuff kind of comes to an end here, because the sightings have all been super similar, with people driving down the road catching a glimpse of it as it crosses, or maybe it's seen running alongside their car. Someone even had it attack her car. It was of course Halloween night in 1991 when this event occurred. A high schooler named Doris was driving down Hospital Road when she felt her tire lift off the ground. Fearing she might have ran over one of the local animals, she stopped to get out and check. As she approached the rear of her car, she saw in the short distance a large, heavy, black and gray hairy beast charging straight at her on its two legs. She turned around and jumped back into the car. And on a different occasion, Doris was out with a friend when her friend spotted the beast stalking the side of a road. Doris, still dealing with the PTSD from last time, of course hit the gas and got out of there. Back to Linda, she did get a chance to inspect Doris's car, and she found strange marks, but could not identify the cause. There are two things to point out here. One, the beast is not exclusive to Bray Road. He is seen all over, throughout Elkhorn, the county, and even neighboring states. Linda chose the name Beast, again struggling with its identity and how to classify it. She also chose Beast because the alliteration with Bray, Beast of Bray Road. It just sounds better, it sounds nicer. The second thing, when Mark encountered the beast back in the 30s, the beast didn't approach nor show any signs of aggression. It simply stood up and spoke and walked away. While on the other hand, Doris, she might have accidentally hit the beast and that's why it's upset, but these are two very different and distinct approaches with the beast. This aggressive approach becomes its main thing as more stories come in. In late December of 1990, Heather, a small schoolgirl, came running home crying to her mother about a large wolf-like creature that stood on its hind legs and chased after her and her friends. After a short distance, the beast stopped and returned to the cornfields. Russell Guest was one of the kids there that day, and he backs Heather's claim. One more story. Tom and his casual friend, Chris Maxwell. Like, why does Chris get a last name? Especially since Tom is the one telling the story. Anyways, they're driving in a nearby foggy area when they thought they hit something. Tom's logic is that it was a mailbox. Tom, how many mailboxes are you running over? Like the kid Debbie earlier? She had the wherewithal to think that she might have hit an animal. A more linear thought. Geez, Tom, get a last name already. Well, as they back up to check it out, they saw nothing. But of course, Tom's windows rolled down, and he notices the horrible smell. Then he notices the giant claw reaching out for him. They drive off and the beast scratched the car. Chris Maxwell did not back Tom's claim. Now, there is some evidence to the existence of this beast, and that it might not be supernatural, but it might be a living organism. Some of the reports often talk about how it will be found hunched over, tearing into its prey on the side of the road. Some locals and Dogman investigators claim to have retrieved foot casts, though there is also the fact that apparently none of the local authorities or colleges want to bother testing them. A simple explanation is that a black bear with mange could be up to this. Sure, that's how the Southwest tried to explain the chupacabra. There's also been suggestions that it's a large, wild Newfoundland breed of dog, just chilling in town. Cryptozoologists have come to terms with placing the beast into the Bigfoot category. Like I stated before, the whimsical nature of werewolves versus this might be an unidentified animal. But also, the beast shares many common traits with other Bigfoot cryptids. Skunk ape is the one everybody wants to circle around. I've done much research on Bigfoot my whole life, and one of the key signs that one of these creatures is nearby is the foul-smelling odor. Big feet are also commonly known to be exclusively bipedal, and they are covered in hair. But the difference between dogmen and big feet are the faces. One is a canine, while the other one is ape-like. Big feet also don't have claws, and their method of attack is to throw things. Both seem to aggress onto their prey, but Bigfoot usually backs off after a successful scaring. Looks like the dogmen aren't afraid to grab a bite, or so the stories go. Somehow I think this ties back to the Satanism from earlier, but there are reports of animal mutilations discovered in Elkhorn and its surrounding areas. You can claim that this is a rural land and wild animals roam through it, but if the beast is responsible for mutilations, that means it's carnivorous and it has an appetite. Remember kids, spirits don't eat meat. Okay, this last one is one I've personally omitted for being unreasonable or having any amount of credibility. In December 2020, oh, note, strange, didn't realize this till now, the beast only seems to appear during the winter months. Maybe they migrate to colder lands during the summers. Something to run on there. Anyways, December of 2020, Danby Morgan was driving down Weeks Road, just 1 mile away from Bray when he took this picture. Everyone knows it's a fake, but damn, I hate it when people intentionally mess things up because they need attention. But at least we can say the local legend lives on and the people still talk about the Beast of Bray Road. Okay, that wraps up my presentation on the Beast of Bray Road. I don't know if I believe this one, but I also don't doubt the residents of Elkhorn who are actually witnessing this cryptid. See, sometime after I finished my first cryptid video, Skinwalker, I never stopped trying to understand if I had missed something with that project. This led me to a book called The Hunt for the Skinwalker: Science Confronts the Unexplained at a Remote Ranch in Utah. You can guess what the ranch is called, but they try to cover it up in the book, but it's pretty obvious what this is. Yes, I read the book, and I have to say it was one of the scariest books I've ever read. See, you think we were going to go after skinwalkers in this book, but what is accounted for within this book is the appearances of large wolves that linger around the ranch perimeters. Some people have shot at these monsters and never seen blood, and they can never kill or capture one. This is when I realized I'm not searching for a magical creature, I'm looking for Dogman. And there's about 1,000,000,001 stories about these beasts. And with that amount of reporting, some of them are bound to be real. So that's it, that's what I want to do. I consider this chapter 1 of my research for the North American Dogman. They also have a weird UFO tie-in with the fog and stuff, but that's a different thing. The aliens, they gotta take a side seat somewhere else. It's too much. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, have you or anyone you've known experience with a Dogman? It doesn't have to be just about the Beast of Bray Road. It could have happened anywhere. Write it in the comments below, like, subscribe. Let's get out of here.